Hello everyone, this is Ethan from Your Daily Practice, where we use psychology, philosophy, and spirituality in practical ways to improve your daily life. If you want the most from this video, I suggest grabbing a pen and paper to do some internal work for yourself and be prepared to do a little homework and watching two other videos that I suggest, and if you would like, some suggested reading material. I provided the information for what we're talking about today and the links to the resource material below my video, as well in my blog post on my website at yourdailypractice.wordpress.com. Today's discussion is what I would like to call a definition discussion, where truly communication with others kind of demands that we agree upon the definitions on the words that we use. And the more abstract the word is, the more it carries more subjective meanings, and our definitions tend to change as our understanding of the concept behind the words changes. Does your word for love mean the same as my word for love? So definitions are powerful, and if our words don't have the same meaning, we may lose the message that we're either trying to convey, like this message here, or we may never even realize that we're not on the same page and that we're working against our mutual goals in all of our relationships. If you disagree with this idea, I suggest you asking any husband-wife combo and asking them what their agreed definition is to doing the dishes. And I'm willing to bet money at the beginning their definitions were quite different in thoroughness, how it's done, when to do it, all of those things, and hopefully they've reached some agreement of what doing the dishes means, the definition of, and therefore when one of them asks the other if they can help doing the dishes, they understand what that meaning is, and there's less disagreement about when things aren't done based upon their conflicting definitions that they had before. Another prime example is the word often. When a wife asks their husband, to take out the trash, often, I'm sure they had to agree upon that word as well. So, with that said, I rest my case, and we will dive into the subject material today. Happiness, you create the definition, that is our subject. On the fly, right now, I'd like you to write down your definition of happiness. Don't think about it, just sit down and pound out a quick definition for yourself. And I'm going to give you 15 seconds, so you have a little bit of time. All right, you're done. Now look at your definition. What does it look like to you? Did you write anything down? I mean, if you really struggled in writing a definition down, then maybe this is implying that you're really not clear about what happiness is to you. Hopefully, in our discussion today, this will be an eye-opening experience for you. And as I ask questions about what happiness is, take notes, brainstorm, answer some of the questions that I'm posing. Of course, these questions will also be provided down below in the video, So what is happiness? If we go online and we Google through Webster's Dictionary, the definition of happiness is defined as either a state of well-being and contentment or a pleasurable or satisfying experience. And believe it or not, that definition is pretty much on par with the same definition that is provided from positive psychology experts. Dan Gilbert, who's author of Stumbling on Happiness, which is the reading material that I'm suggesting, is a Harvard teacher as well as a positive psychology expert. They're on the forefront of this subject, and believe it or not, the #1 registered course at Harvard right now is this positive psychology course, where people learn how to be more happy. In Dan Gilbert's definition, he says that happiness is deceptively simple. It's about being satisfied with life and experiencing more positive emotions than negative ones. So, within that framework, what is your definition? Is it a long life? Is it getting married and having 2.5 kids and that white picket fence and the house and the whole shebang? Is it none of those things? Is it bucking all traditional and cultural rules and says, I'm living a good life by myself on the beach drinking margaritas for the rest of my life? So look at the components in your definition. Things to consider. Doing well by your parents. Is that a requirement for you in order to be happy? Does being well loved or being part of a large family, is that a requirement for you to be happy? Personal growth. Do you need to grow? Do you need to continue to learn the way I do? I'm ravenous about learning. Do you need to have enough money to not worry about it, or does it matter? Is it you're always moving to your the next thing? Are you trying to avoid pain? Do you avoid people in certain situations? Do you avoid, because you're afraid of heights, you avoid airplanes. So is your definition of happiness not include flying on airplanes? Are you trying to save the proverbial child in Africa, the same child that we see in American TV commercials? And a better way to explain that is, are you trying to leave the world better than you left it? Now that you've got a little bit more framework on that, how has your definition of happiness really changed in the past 5 years? I can tell you for myself, in the past 4 years, this changed tremendously. 4 years ago, I was graduating college and earning my first bachelor's degree in accounting and in business administration. And I was desperately trying to grab a job that would allow me to live not only just above the poverty line, but allow me to get enough satisfaction out of life and being able to have material things. That was my definition then. And now my definition has become much more internal, and I've pared away a few of those things, whereas external goals definitely, there's nothing wrong with them, but I realized that being dependent on maybe some external things makes me less in control of creating genuine positive emotions and a more satisfying life. So, the next question to pose is your definition of happiness serving you or hindering you? The limits of our definition drive the choices that we make on a daily basis. If you want to think about this in the most mundane terms, I get up early every single day so I can go to a job that provides me money to be able to live. That is the most mundane version of terms of happiness. Some other ways are, do you avoid negative people so that you're not subjected to feeling negative energy or negative emotions for long periods of time? You want to feel good, so when you're stressed out, you go grab a bag of Doritos or a box of donuts. I'm guilty of that. Do you try to eat healthier instead to try to feel better because you felt guilty about the fact you ate the bag of donuts, or bag of Doritos and box of donuts, or both, or a couple of boxes, whatever. Is your definition of happiness requires success, and is marriage in that definition required? So, how does culture and how do your religious beliefs affect your definition? Are you even in control of your definition? Is it completely dependent upon your religious beliefs? The next question to pose is, what if you don't achieve the things that you've already built into your definition of happiness? What are you left with? Who's really in control of your happiness? And how do you manage the internal conflict that arises when your life doesn't match your definition? Think about it. Does divorce make you a failure at your own happiness if marriage is required? So, how do we address the conflict that rises between the difference of the two? There's really only 4 ways we address any conflict. We either try harder to do exactly what we said we were going set out to do. We either accept our fate and give up. We settle for a lesser version of what our original definition is, or we think outside the box and change the definition completely. So, hopefully at this point maybe you're looking at your definition and you've taken some notes and some ideas of what it may or may not mean for you, and this is where the hard work begins, reevaluating your definition. And there's some serious things to consider in this definition, or as you work towards this definition. You and only you are in charge of it. So be conscious about what it is. Set it in concrete terms that you can discover for yourself to see whether it's achievable, maintainable, that is 100% in your control, or mostly in your control, and not fear-based. If you start really being honest with yourself, if you don't start being honest with yourself, you'll never be clear about what really makes you happy. So do some digging and see if there's some self-worth issues out there that are really driving your definition. Is the fancy house that you need or have, is it reaffirming that you have enough? Do you need to really make $70,000 a year in order to feel worthy that you deserve love? Do you fear being alone? Are you settling for a lesser person because of it? In my own search, I've really struggled with the definition in such a way that I've really found that I found it usually in the hands of someone else, in the place somewhere else, or in something else. And as I got more and more honest with myself over the past, I would say 4 years, I would say that all my definitions were really driven internally, even if I was trying to fix them with external goals. And as I was saying before, external goals, there's nothing wrong with them, but when things go out of your hands, we're limited to that definition. So that should be plenty enough information right there to at least get your mind working and the juices going, really trying to decide of what that definition means to you. You should have way more questions than you do answers after this discussion today. And hopefully, as you become clearer on your definition, you'll realize that you're just now on the journey of really being consciously aware of what you do daily to help to generate more positive emotions and to create a more satisfying life for yourself. So be open to the idea of whatever you may discover, and realize that you may need to work backwards in getting to what the real definition is for you for happiness. Just like in the example of eating donuts to be stressed out because or buying a home because you feel like you need enough or you're not worthy of love. The two suggested videos that I recommend are 2 TED Talks. If you don't know what TED is, it's TED. It's a global community that welcomes people from all disciplines and all types of sciences, and they come together and they have these massive talks on the frontier of what the future is looking like, and with inspirational ideas and thinkers. Obviously, it includes a large group of curious people that are out there either watching the videos or participating in them. I recommend the website very much, TED.com. The first video I suggest is Dan Gilbert's video, where he really discusses the difference between natural happiness and synthetic happiness, and what those are, and how you truly, synthetic happiness really is just as good as natural happiness, and how to be happy when we don't get what we want. At least that'll put some premise for you so that maybe you're able to be a little bit more clear and a little less fearful about what your definition of happiness may be. The second video I suggest is by Sean Aker, and he is also a Harvard professor on positive psychology. And he posits the idea that maybe we don't work in order to be happy, but instead it's through our happiness that drives our work and allows us to be more productive and more apparent in life. In the video, he also lists 5 different ways to generate more positive emotions, and we will discuss each one of those in future discussions between you and I. And it's pretty funny. Hopefully you'll laugh, you'll learn a few things, you'll buy the book from Dan, and really start getting clear about what you do on a daily basis to generate the best version of yourself. And enjoy. So go watch these men, open your mind to the idea that you provide the most input in creating your own happiness on a daily basis, and work on creating a more concrete definition of what that means to you. Thanks for listening, and until next time.